Hmm. Okay. Finally. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Rest Show. Yes, this is a special one. Christmas holidays around the block. And yes, I would like to take time to let you know that, when we do a lot of research and now we're in the air of knowledge, everybody can increase his knowledge. All you have to do is search and be careful. You gotta like double check twice to make sure if your information is right. And I'm so glad to tell you that actually the Christmas holiday is not a pagan date that was borrowed from another pagan holiday and they kind of put it in there. No, actually, it's the other way around. So, without any further ado, let's start with my friend Michael Heiser, Dr. Michael Heiser, very known scholar, very well known about his knowledge about the Bible. Let's hear what he has to say about the Christmas holiday. All right, let's listen to what he has to say.
To this. He's just telling us that, hey, this idea that Christians stole the date comes from Jablonski and Hardouin, Protestants and the Catholic 17th, 18th centuries. There's 1700s, 1800s, and onward. So this is how he starts his article. This is where it comes from. Now, he writes elsewhere, in the Julian calendar, created in 45 BC under Julius Caesar, the winter solstice fell on December 25th. And therefore it seemed obvious to Jablonski and Hardouin that the day must have had a pagan significance before it had a Christian one. But in fact, the date had no religious significance in the Roman pagan festival calendar before Aurelian's time, nor did the cult of the sun play a prominent role in Rome before him. And that was a direct quote. So then he goes and he talks about Aurelian a little bit. There were two temples of the sun in Rome that were actually supposed to be maintained by the clan that Aurelian was part of. But it didn't have a direct December 25th attachment to that cult. Both of those cults of the sun fell into neglect in the 2nd century as a result of some different things going on religiously, specifically connected to Mithraism that became more popular than these cults of the sun. And back to the article, to quote again, he writes, as things actually happened, Aurelian, who ruled from 270 until his assassination in 275, was hostile to Christianity and appears to have promoted the establishment of the festival of the birth of the unconquered sun as a device to unify the various pagan cults of the Roman Empire around a commemoration of the annual rebirth of the sun. In creating the new feast, he intended the beginning of the lengthening of the daylight and the arresting of the lengthening of darkness on December 25th to be a symbol of the hoped-for rebirth or perpetual rejuvenation of the Roman Empire, resulting from the maintenance of the worship of the gods whose tutelage, the Romans thought, had brought Rome to greatness and world rule. If it co-opted a Christian celebration, so much the better, because he hated Christians. Okay. So what the author of our article here is going to argue is that it was actually the other way around, that Aurelian stole the date from Christians, not that Christians.
You see there? Aurelian stole the date from Christians in around 270, 275 prior to our date, in our time now. So it's the other way around. It's the Emperor of Rome, Aurelian, that stole the date and say we're gonna put all those pagan festivals at the same date as the Christians. So it's very interesting. Now we're gonna listen to another scholar, which is very young man, 33 years old, but very starting to get more and more, eye opener. For a lot of people, because he's making his name known with the new generation of Christians, and he's gonna tell us a little history about the same thing that Dr. Heiser was talking about. Let's hear what he has to say. This is Wesley Off, known as Wes Off, and let's see what he has to say.
Let's start off with some of the most common accusations and objections I see. The first, and probably the most talked about, is the date of Christmas itself. It's often asserted that the date of December 25th was already a common one used in ancient Near East and Greco-Roman world. The Christians merely scheduled their celebrations of Jesus' birth on the same day as these pagan festivals to somehow make it easier for pagans or early converts to convert or start to celebrate Christmas. Apart from the fact that I wouldn't even have that big of an issue with this concept if it was true, when you really dig into the sources on what these festivals were when they happened, the argument starts to fall apart. The leading contender for this argument is the Roman festival of Sol Invictus, the festival of the unconquered sun. It's not until the middle of the 4th century that anyone makes the connection of Sol Invictus to December 25th, and earlier inscriptions are inconsistent, placing Sol Invictus throughout August, October, and early December. Christians, on the other hand, had already pinpointed December 25th as the date they thought Jesus was born, decades before any of this. I'll go into more detail in a little bit as to the reasons behind all of that, but Sextus Julius Africanus in the late 2nd and early 3rd century had already made that conclusion, and we have some early evidence that Christians were acknowledging it as such. In reality, Roman temple worship was on the decline by the 4th century.
So Revelation 12 is the passage I'm
and
talking.
even more probable that the pagans moved their celebrations to December 25th to compete with the Christians, who were a growing religious majority at the time. In fact, Pliny the Younger in the early 2nd century had already noted, potentially a little bit hyperbolically, that the Roman temples were being forsaken due to so many Christian converts. And Emperor Julian, who was emperor for 3 years in the 4th century, grew frustrated with the lack of Roman religious devotion to idols in his time and blames the Christians specifically for this pagan crisis of faith. In his work, The Origins of the Liturgical Year, historian Thomas Taylor says this exact thing when he states that it is more likely the Roman Emperor Aurelian placed Sol Invictus on December 25th to compete with the growing rate of Christianity. Others have tried to accuse December 25th of being the date of the feast of Saturnalia, the Roman pagan festival honoring the agricultural god Saturn. However, much like Sol Invictus, our earliest sources for Saturnalia come late. Macrobius in the 5th century says that Saturnalia was celebrated 14 days before January, and keep in mind that the ancient Roman calendar at this time had 2 more days in their month of December than ours does today. This only comes out then to December 17th. Brumalia, although a multi-day festival in ancient Rome devoted to Saturn and Kronos, comes in as a potential candidate. But Brumalia starts in late November and ends on December 17th, right in time to celebrate the day of Saturnalia. In fact, there is no evidence that December 25th was selected to replace a pagan holiday.
Okay, let's stop right there. Another take on those is the history of how things became a little bit mixed up. First, we thought it was the other way around, that the Christian church kind of make a consensus with the Roman authorities, and they say, okay, let's put all that together so everybody's pleased. But it was the other way around. Another reason why we should continue to celebrate Christmas on the 25th, not thinking that it's borrowed from a pagan holiday. But at the same time, we got to realize that maybe Jesus wasn't born the 25th of December. There's a lot of scholars that don't agree with that date, according to not only certain parts of the Bible that gives us other way of seeing where exactly, like Michael Heiser has tried to figure in an astrological way, because the star that was following the mages, they they were kind of astrological, maybe, you know, people that used to read the stars. You know, Revelation 12, it talks, I saw a sign in the heavens, and then it described the virgin Virgo that was under the moon. And we start to see maybe something that has to do with the astro signs that we see in the skies.